Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions to Images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberator is the founder and art director of Visions to Images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions to Images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberator, owner of Visions to Images. Hello, everybody. Today on the podcast, I have Laura Esposito with Laura Esposito Photography. She is local to the Ohio area and really helps seniors, business owners, a variety of people with their photography needs. And I'm just super excited. I love all of the stuff that she does. And I actually just got to pick out the cover for the senior magazine she's doing. So that was exciting. So hello, Laura.
Hello, Susie. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you were able to come on. I haven't had a photographer yet, so I'm excited.
Well, good.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and how you even got started with all of this.
Well, I was a middle school science teacher for 25 years.
Oh, my goodness.
But at the same time, I was just, taking pictures for fun. I started as a nature photographer, and I would do a lot of weekend workshops with other nature photographers, but that was really good to lay the groundwork of learning my camera and just, photography in general. Then I'll just, thought it would be fun for a friend who was getting married. I said, I'll bring my camera and grab a few extra shots of you guys, because I knew their budget wasn't big and they weren't investing a lot in their photographer. So I thought I'll give them a couple extra shots here or there. They really loved them. Other people who were there said, hey, do you want to take pictures of my daughter? She's a senior. And I'm like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And so one thing led to another, and I realized I really love taking portraits. Mm-hmm. So that led me down a different educational journey where I learned posing and a lot of the intricacies that are specific to portrait photography. So so in 2009, I officially started my business. Then I decided to make it my full-time job in 2017. So, that was a huge leap of faith, but it was fabulous. So ever since then, I've just been 100% invested in what I'm doing here with my photography.
Well, congratulations on that jump and leap. It's very hard sometimes to take those and then to be able to go full time and jump away from everything. It's very nerve-wracking, but you did it. So congratulations.
Thank you. And I knew it would, it wasn't like, oh, if this doesn't work, oh, well, it was, no, I have to pay the mortgage. Yeah. So, Yep, sink or swim. So
exactly. No, I love it. I love that mindset. I have that so much. Being a single mom and everything, I'm like, I just have to do it and just go with it and make it happen, right? Because we don't want to try to find those 9-to-5 jobs and all of that. So yes, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, and what's funny about all of this is that it's not really funny, I guess, but I grew up in a digital age. And my dad worked at Kodak, so he was always into the photography end of things. And so I grew up always with photography as well. So everything from everything from what are they called? Like the black and white photo cameras that we used to have. I don't even know what we call them these days. But then going into the digital ones, always kind of doing that and doing that in high school and then even in college. And what's funny is when I was living in Tennessee, I always knew I wanted to start a business, but I didn't really know what. And I always had that photography end. So I did some photography work for so long and was a freelancer and all of that. But I knew, and when I started my agency, I was still doing some photography for myself, and I would throw in some for my clients. but it wasn't like it was more of a hobby for me rather than like that profession. So
Right.
I always just say, if you need it, we send that out to people. So, but it's so important. And I tell people all the time, like, you don't want stock photography. So we try to steer away from all of those things, especially with the agency clients now. We don't want to just use those. Sometimes we do, sometimes we can mimic them and stuff like that. But we really liked having that authenticity for
Absolutely.
clients.
Yeah, you can really show what makes them special and different,
Yeah.
So, and obviously that is why people choose to work with the businesses they do. There has to be something there that draws them in and they connect with. And that photography can be the link a lot of times. So,
Yes, absolutely. So tell me more about like what you're excited about. Tell me what is going on in your world.
well, my specialty really is the high school seniors. And I think it's from all the years of working with young people and the capacity of being an educator. I just love the energy that they bring. And I think as a senior in high school, that's such a cool time in their lives. They're making decisions for themselves, they're moving out on their own and kind of forging their path and really finding themselves. And they're kind of embracing their individuality. And gosh, being able to capture that is just so exciting. So previously, if I had a year of 20 seniors, that was a really good year. Well, I made it my goal last year that I was going to up it to 30.
Mhm.
Well, lo and behold, I had 43.
Oh,
So I exceeded that goal by a lot and it was amazing. So for this year, I really feel like that's a good number. I don't want to become that volume photographer where I just, shuffle them in and out. I'm all about, the service and the experience that I can offer them. So I think that between 40 and 50 range is really a comfort spot for me. So I want to continue with that. But I don't know. I guess I just really want to continue to serve them. Like I just love it. I draw so much energy from that. And the other side, the corporate headshot side, I think maybe that's the side that I would like to grow a little more,
mhm.
because that's something I can do in the off season when I'm not shooting my seniors. And I've done extensive classes now on studio lighting, and I've invested in the equipment that I need to make it happen. So I'm just really anxious to see if I can branch off in that direction too.
Yeah. And going back to the wedding thing, like the wedding thing is so funny because I don't, even when I was doing photography, I would never touch weddings. I did some for people here and there as like a courtesy, but it's just so, weddings are just so different and so tough. Like you almost need to specialize in those yourself. Whereas with you,
Absolutely.
you're like, I'll do seniors and headshots and stuff like that. So it's good that you found your niche. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, having that off season, because obviously you're going to have that a little bit doing those headshots, and it's cold in Ohio, let's face that. So we don't want to be outside. I mean, some people will go outside, but I'm like a hermit. I will I will hibernate as much as I can because I hate the cold.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that studio kind of set up. And there's nothing better than like a studio headshot when you're a professional, right? Like you
Right.
want to have that option. I mean, sometimes you like to have some fun ones and other things like that, but definitely having those options is so important for business owners.
It really does set them apart. And you mentioned the elements. That's one thing I am not afraid of. I have tromped through snow above my knees to
I
get
bet,
pictures
yeah.
in wakeboarding and,
Oh,
um, or snowboarding, sorry. I did wakeboarding too. We were out on a boat for that one.
oh,
But just I'm open to anything. I tromp through cow pastures and wade through creeks and you name it, I'm game. So and I think that kind of goes back to my origins in nature photography. Because on the
absolutely.
side I'm into fishing and kayaking and hiking and horses, and so so I'm not afraid of the elements. Give me a situation and more than likely I'm game.
I love it. So when you talk about like corporate headshots or just headshots in general for business owners, what do you envision they can use those for? I mean, obviously branding and stuff, but what do you recommend people can use those for?
Um, you know, even though we're in a digital age, people still distribute business cards.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a stack of them and I will shuffle through them when I need to find somebody. So having your headshot on the business card, I think is important. You know, we want to know who it is we're doing business with and who we're connecting with. Obviously, your social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you go on LinkedIn and someone requests to connect with you and you see that image and you're like, oh, it looks like they were at a best friend's wedding and I see someone's hand on their shoulder. You know, it just doesn't quite convey the same level of commitment to their professionalism as an actual headshot would. So those kinds of things is, you know, well as, you know, hopefully they have a web presence. And I think the website is certainly a place where it's appropriate to have that headshot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it all in the spots. And then even print design, like brochures or, I mean, all of that can be converted to digital anyways. And that's what I tell people all the time is it's not always just the print design. You can use it for digital now as well, especially with the pandemic going on. You can still have it created and then just print it later or whatever. But having images of you, your staff, all of the things to really make it about you and consistent and cohesive and personalized, you know, people, especially, I mean, I work with lawyers and stuff and realtors and they want to have that personalization. They want to see that person they want to know. I mean, even in your email signature, you could go as crazy as that to put it in there.
Right.
So realtors do that too sometimes because we want to see that person and be able to trust them and it builds that accountability. Hey, let's stop for just 1 second during this podcast episode. I know you're so excited to get back and listen, but I wanted to chat with you and talk about how we really work with businesses. What we really do is we dive in and we ask so many questions. We go through a series of questionnaires and extensive research to really help you get a clear, identifiable plan of action that needs to happen for your business. If you want to hear more about this, go to visions2images.com, click the contact us button, and we will be happy to set up a time to chat more.
Right. And even the industry that someone is a part of dictates my posing, my lighting,
Absolutely.
you know, how high or low do I want to put the camera, you know, just all of those
Yeah.
things depending on, you know, what are we trying to portray? What qualities do they want to put out there? Um, and even that is so much fun. You know, with my seniors, the thing that I love so much, we get to the session and, you know, no matter how much verbally I've been able to give them confidence, it's not until they see the back of my camera for the first time that they get that look on their face like, oh wow, that's me, you know, and it, they come with all these insecurities. And if I can break through those and show them how beautiful they really are and let them feel beautiful, like that's just absolutely priceless.
Mm-hmm.
That carries over into my headshots. You know, it's amazing. They may not express it the same way a high school senior would, but it really blows my mind. You know, they look at their image and they're like, that's the best picture I've ever seen. You know, I can tell there's confidence building there too. So, you know, what business owner doesn't want to be able to present themselves with a level of confidence that can even
Absolutely.
come from a quality headshot?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's totally one of those things where, like you said, the posing and stuff, like, because we're so self-conscious, especially as women, like we're always like, oh, does this look good? Does this look good? I don't think this is going to work. And then when you see it, you're like, oh, wow, I do look really good. Like you're saying. And especially it's so different than like just taking a selfie, you know, like
yeah,
totally so different. It's just a whole different experience. And then I'm sure you do some touch-ups and stuff like that, but it's not as extravagant as, you know, Instagram and Snapchat adding those filters and stuff, because I hate those. Don't get me started on those.
right, right.
I'm like anti-filters and anti all that stuff. I don't use Snapchat anyways, but I mean, once in a while I'll do it for my kid, but I never like really post it or anything. But that's a whole nother topic.
And it's amazing what proper lighting can do. You
Yeah.
know, lighting underneath those eye sockets. And because that's one of the biggest things we look for when we decide if we're going to trust someone, it's the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, anytime you have shadows in the eyes, that just kind of, it it resonates something of mistrust. We want to see those eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always a big deal when I'm taking a headshot. The eyes have to be lit, So I've got a parabolic uplighter that I use underneath, and, lights behind, lights in front. I've got a whole system set up to make sure that we're achieving all of those goals.
Absolutely. So if you could give anybody advice, whether it's entrepreneur advice or even just like photography advice, what advice would you give somebody?
Oh my goodness. I've learned so much through the years.
Absolutely. I
um,
know you could be here a while, right?
yeah, I think first of all, just always remember your why. You can't let yourself get away from that. And really try to always focus on what is that customer experience. Put yourself in their shoes. What is it like to work with you? Is it easy to work with you? Are you given what you need at the proper time when you need it? Can they get a hold of you? How does it feel to have a conversation with you? Just all of those things, because everybody's life is too busy and too chaotic to have more stress added to it. So you
Absolutely.
certainly do not want to contribute to that. So focusing on that. Um, just on a technical note, one of the best things I ever did for myself is invest in a CRM, a client management system.
Mm-hmm.
I personally used Dubsado, and I know you do too from working with you, and
Yes.
game changer,
Yes.
total game changer.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000 times with that. And I
Yeah,
mean, I don't really think of it as a CRM, but I guess it is. I never thought of it like that. But I just couldn't keep up with invoices and contracts and all of that stuff and just little things. It's just so easy, like literally. And it's so affordable. It's like a no-brainer. Like
right.
when you're doing the
Exactly.
stuff like you and I do, it's just, yeah, you definitely need that. And you don't even have to hire a VA to do it necessarily. But I do
Right.
have my assistant keep up with some of it. But you don't really need them at that point. You know what I mean? Because you have all this stuff set up. But
Yeah. And it just makes, again, your presentation look so much more professional on the other end when everything they get from you is consistent and, makes sense, and you actually have a workflow where you don't miss a
absolutely.
step in between. So I just think all of that is huge.
Well, and it shows that you're professional and you're real and you take this serious, right? Like there's nothing worse
Right.
than hiring a photographer. I've worked with photographers in the past as freelancers, and they're like, oh, I don't give you a contract or I don't give you an invoice. And I'm like, well, I need that for like my business to write it off. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like you need to have, if you're a business owner, you need that. But it just makes it much more professional and makes you set yourself apart in my eyes, I think.
Right. And the other big thing for me, just to get my head on straight in terms of how I want to present myself, building a story brand by Donald Miller.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, it's one of those books that I just revisit, listen to his podcast every once in a while, catch one of his webinars, and it's a good way to remind myself and reset myself in terms of how I want to present myself, and just really, again, kind of going back to remembering the why,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm here to serve, and what is it that my client needs for me to do, and how can I portray that. So yeah, building a story brand by Donald Miller. Can't say enough about it in terms of just getting your head on straight with how you're going to approach and work through your business.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed chatting with you. There's so much great stuff here. And I will put your information in the bio and people can reach out to you.
that is fabulous. Thank you so much, Susie. I love what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for listening in on this episode today. Please make sure to check out the links from your guest and Visions to Images to learn more about each other. It takes a village, as you know, so connect and grow with one another together. Thank you so much for listening.